क्या होता है माइक्रो क्लाउड? See, these are those events that are occurring in a very small area, and they are occurring not only in, let's say, mountainous regions, even in plain regions. These kind of events are occurring. Right? That's why those kind of events which are highly remote areas, they are occurring in highly remote areas, that too in a very small area, are called as micro clouds. Right? So it is not a new term; it is just a kind of cloudburst that occurs in a remote area, that too very small area. उस event को हम कहते हैं micro clouds. Okay? So let's talk about the steps. What are the steps through which cloudbursts occur? Try to understand these steps. Right now, simultaneously only. First, what are the steps? First is availability of high moisture in the air. What we need availability of high moisture in the air for the occurrence of cloudburst. Okay, that is first. Second, availability of upward moving air. Right? Apart from availability of high moisture in the air, what we need air that is moving in the upward direction. Okay? So this upward direction, this wind, this air that is moving in the upward direction is called as updraft. It is called as updraft. Availability of upward moving air. Now, as air is moving upward, what will happen? Right? See, you have to picturize these things. You have to visualize these things. Now, as there is availability of upward moving air, what it will do? It will make sure that the moisture that is present in air is also moved along with it. Right? उसके साथ वो moisture भी ऊपर लेके जाए. Right? So what will happen? It will push moisture in the upward direction. In the upward direction. Right? So whatever moisture is present in the air, that moisture will also be moved in the upward direction by this updraft. Okay? Now, another important point, this process is facilitated by orographic lift, the orographic barrier, and this lift of air is called as orographic. Right? So this is facilitation. Is it a necessary condition? No. ये सिर्फ फैसिलिटेट करता है. अगर मान लेते हैं लेट्स से ऐसा कुछ बैरियर है एंड वी हैव द अपड्राफ्ट इन दिस पर्टिकुलर डायरेक्शन. मान लेते हैं दिस इज लेट्स से माउंटेनस बैरियर एंड द अपड्राफ्ट इज इन दिस डायरेक्शन. अगर ये बैरियर है तो अपड्राफ्ट को ये बैरियर फैसिलिटेट करेगा कि और ऊपर ले जाए वो मॉइस्चर लेडन विंड. यस और नो? दैट काइंड ऑफ सपोर्ट दैट इज प्रोवाइडेड बाय दिस माउंटेन इज कॉल्ड एज orographic lift. Fine. Orographic lift is not a mandatory condition for the occurrence of cloudburst. But as it is provided, especially obviously in mountainous areas, we have more occurrence of cloudburst in mountainous regions. ठीक है, पर ये necessary condition है क्या? नहीं. Clear? Right? So that is an important point. What we need? First, we need availability of moisture in the air. That moisture will be taken towards the upper areas, toward the higher altitudes by a mass of air called as updraft. ठीक है, so underline updraft, underline this term updraft. That is what is the movement of air. It might be the case वो convection की वजह से air move हो रही है upward direction. See, hilly areas में orographic barrier होगा and that will facilitate the movement. Plain areas में it may be the case that convection की वजह से air ऊपर move हो रही है and that air is also carrying the moisture that is present in the air in the upward direction. Right? अगर orographic barrier होता है तो इस process को एक support मिलेगा and that's why the process would occur in a better way in those areas, mountainous areas. But अगर orographic barrier नहीं होगा then also there will be upward movement of air which is possible because of convective forces. ठीक है? It's third. This upward movement will lead to condensation. Resulting in the formation of what? Cumulonimbus clouds. It will lead to formation of cumulonimbus clouds. What are cumulonimbus clouds? Cumulonimbus clouds. These are those clouds that have huge extent. Right? Let me show you the picture of cumulonimbus cloud. Okay. So let me show you the pictures of cumulonimbus clouds. These are those clouds. Those clouds that have huge extent. Right? Let me show you the picture of cumulonimbus cloud. Okay. So let me show you the pictures of cumulonimbus clouds. Start mission. These kind of clouds are called as cumulonimbus clouds. Right? So this is the picture that you can take into account. So these clouds are called as cumulonimbus. Okay? So they have very huge extent. Right? You can see that their extent starts from this point to this higher level. These are the clouds that have huge extent, and those kind of clouds are formed during the process of formation of cloud burst. Here, okay? So these kind of cumulonimbus clouds are formed. आपका physical geography बॉडी यहाँ पे maybe so जब भी हो जाएगा तो clouds detail में discuss होंगे आपके साथ. Next, coming back to this. Now, as clouds have been formed, can we say that there would be formation of raindrops, or instead of saying raindrops, droplets of water, formation of droplets of water and snow particles. Right? Will there be formation of droplets of water and snow particles? In this particular cloud? Yes or no? Obviously, yes, क्योंकि कौन सी प्रोसेस हो रही है? Condensation की प्रोसेस हो रही है. As condensation is occurring, what will be formed? Droplets of water and snow particles will be formed. Now, ideally, these droplets of water and snow should fall, as a result of which we will be able to say that precipitation will occur. But ऐसा नहीं होता है during the formation of clouds. Why? Because these droplets of water or snow particles are very small, and as a result of that, वो जो updraft है, the upward moving air, that do not allow these droplets of water and snowfall to fall back on the earth's surface. And that's why they will be, let's say, accumulated inside the cumulonimbus clouds itself. Ideally, cloud क्या होता है? Cloud होता क्या? It is nothing but droplets of water, and in let's say colder conditions it would be in the form of snow. Right? So ये जो snow particles है, droplets of water है, जब fall होते हैं, then we can say that rainfall and snowfall has occurred. But इस case में वो fall नहीं होते हैं. Why? Because of the upward moving air called as updraft. ठीक है? So you can write next point. They are prevented from falling by the strong updraft. This strong updraft will prevent them from falling on the Earth's surface, right? अगर वो Earth पे नहीं fall हो रहा है, that means they will remain inside the cloud itself, right? Now next, slowly and steadily they grow in size. Right? Slowly and steadily, what will happen? They will grow in size. Right? वो जो droplets है, वो जो snow particles है, वो धीरे-धीरे उनकी size बढ़ती जाएगी. Why? Because updraft is not allowing them to fall. अगर updraft fall नहीं होने दे रहा है, तो obviously slowly and steadily वो उनकी size increase करते रहेंगे. क्यों? क्योंकि it may be the case, मान लेते हैं एक ऐसा droplet है, right? Let's say this is one droplet. So now, like obviously slowly and steadily वो उनकी size increase करते रहेंगे. क्यों? क्योंकि it may be the case, मान लेते हैं एक ऐसा droplet है, right? Let's say this is one droplet. So now, as it is there, imagine that these droplets are there in the cumulonimbus clouds. Now, as these droplets are there in cumulonimbus clouds, they will act as a kind of nuclei around which the process of condensation will occur. They will act as a nuclei around which the process of condensation will occur. If this happens, what will happen? Slowly and steadily, they will increase in their size. Okay? Now, if updraft is still strong, then it will not allow these water particles or snow particles to fall. And so they will again be, let's say, increasing in their size. Further, there will be increase in the size of these water droplets. A stage will come that where this particular cloud system will fail. A stage will come where updraft is not able to hold these water particles anymore. That's why there will be failure of cloud system. When this cloud system fails, all the water droplets that have accumulated in that particular cloud will be falling on the Earth's surface in a very violent manner. That kind of event we call as cloud burst. Fine. Here, so what happens? Updraft is very important for the formation of cloud burst. A stage will come when updraft will not be able to hold water droplets anymore. As a result of this, would fail. Cloud system would fail, and all the droplets of water fall in a go. Fall simultaneously. This event is referred as, cloudburst. Are you able to understand this point? Here है how cloudburst occurred. Updraft or upward moving air plays an important role in the formation of cloudburst. Here, everyone, ठीक है? Yes, here. Next now. Next. Impact. What would be the impact of cloudburst? Before that, take point clear. Before that, climate change has started providing favorable conditions. Has started providing favorable conditions for cloudburst. Is it the case? Yes or no? How? First is that as let's say more temperatures are there will be strong convective forces. Right? Strong convective forces will act as a kind of strong updraft. Okay. Secondly, as temperatures are more because of climate change, will there be more evaporation, loss of water, leading to formation of more moisture in air. Right? Two conditions important है. एक, moisture होना चाहिए air में, and secondly, that moisture needs to be taken upward. Right? That moisture needs to be taken upward, and that's all these two conditions are fulfilled by climate change, and that's why we can say that climate change has started creating favorable conditions for the occurrence of clouds. See, try to understand. When moisture-laden air is taken upward, ideally it should undergo the process of condensation and should result in the formation of rainfall or snowfall based on the location. Yes or no? But this is not allowed to fall on the earth's surface by updraft in the process of cloudburst. ये same process cloudburst के दरमियान भी होती है, पर उन water droplets को fall होने से कौन रोक रहा है? Updraft. Right? And that's why they will grow steadily, and then suddenly there will be that event is called as cloudburst. I hope it is clear. Next. Now impacts. So what is the most important impact of cloudburst? It leads to flash floods. Yes or no? Like suddenly, if rainfall is occurring, if too much of rainfall is occurring suddenly, it will lead to flash floods. Flash floods are the types of floods that occur in a very short span of time. You must have seen across number of videos. लोग किसी जगह पे है, मान लेते हैं कोई dry river basin है, उसमें लोग हैं, and they are having, let's say, they are enjoying that particular place, but suddenly पानी आ जाता है. That is the let's say result of events like cloudburst. Those kind of floods are called as flash floods. Can it lead to landslide? कुछ नहीं. Landslides may also trigger because of flash floods, because of cloudburst. Can it lead to GLOF? Possible. And GLOF may also occur because of the events like cloudburst. वो glacial lake है. If in that particular area cloudburst occurs, then suddenly a huge quantity of water would be dropped in that particular area. That will breach that moraine dam, that ice bridge will be breached, and that will lead to the occurrence of GLOF. Right. Next, loss of infrastructure. Next, loss of livelihood, etc. These are the impacts that we can highlight for the occurrence of cloudburst. One more, environmental losses. What kind of environmental losses? Uprooting of trees. And trees get uprooted when cloudbursts occur. Loss of habitat for wildlife is also the environmental impact. Okay. These are the environmental impacts that can be highlighted when cloudbursts occur. And you can see this picture. So this is the result of cloudburst. Burst. You can see this picture. So this is the result of cloudburst. Okay. Next. So that's about impacts of cloudburst. Next, we will move towards our discussion of mitigation steps related to cloudburst. But before that, I would like to add one point. Please add one point here. Cloudbursts. This is a very important point. Try to understand. Cloudbursts are sudden, localized, and short-lived events. And hence conventional prediction and response measures alone are not sufficient. Conventional prediction and response measures alone are not sufficient. Stop and continue. Therefore, the purpose of cloudburst management is on reducing casualties, and other damage. And other damage. Next point. Therefore, the focus is on. Therefore, the focus is on preparedness, community awareness, structural and land use planning, rescue, and recovery. Okay. See, this is very rescue and recovery. Okay. See, this is very important point. Cloudbursts are not the disasters that we will be able to locate, that we will be able to, let's say, map, right?
काश ऐसा हो जाए. वही तो कर रहा हूँ.
Right? We hardly will be able to carry out the mapping of disasters like cloudbursts. Why? Because they're highly localized events. और एक ऐसे जगह पे आ सकते हैं जहाँ पे आप imagine भी नहीं करोगे कि यहाँ पे cloudburst होगा. Right? So that's why focus is not on, let's say, mapping. Focus is not on traditional way of handling cloudbursts. तो हम लोग, let's say, early warning system establish करेंगे. We will, let's say, carry out the community awareness for that particular area. कि हमें पता चल गया कि वो area cloudburst से vulnerable है. No, we cannot do all these things. These kind of events like cloudbursts can occur anywhere, and that's why our focus is on ensuring that we carry out, let's say, the measures like, let's say, land use regulations. We'll have to make sure that there is community awareness amongst, let's say, citizens in that particular area, that they will avoid their construction of houses in the higher altitudinal regions. वहाँ पे सबसे ज़्यादा impact हो सकता है cloudburst का. Then we'll also focus on rescue and recovery after the occurrence of cloudburst. Cloudbursts are highly localized events, and that's why their management is extremely difficult. Hence, we are not focusing on the traditional way of management of cloudbursts, but we are coming up with some, let's say, newer ways of handling of cloudbursts. And we will refer to those steps in this particular discussion. Okay, fine. Can we predict cloudbursts? No. Can we mark a particular area? Let's say, see, अगर हम लोग प्लेन एरियाज और माउंटेनस एरियाज को कंपेयर करेंगे, इस एरिया में ज्यादा क्लाउडबर्स्ट के चांसेस है. Mountainous areas, right? So let's keep mountainous area aside. Let's focus on plain areas. Can you exactly pinpoint in which plain areas there will be more occurrence of cloudburst events? No, that is not possible. That's not possible. See, it's not that coastal areas only will be having these kind of events. Maybe ऐसे जगह पे भी आए. For example, in Delhi also there may be occurrence of events like cloudbursts. Why? Because do we have source of water nearby? Yes, it is there in the form of Yamuna, right? Secondly, do we have convective, let's say, air currents during the months of May, June? Yes, so it may be the case Delhi may be right? So it's very difficult to pinpoint these areas में आपको, let's say, cloudburst events देखने को मिलेंगे, especially in plain areas. It's extremely difficult. In general, you can say that mountainous regions are more prone to these kind of events, but otherwise, it's very difficult to carry out mapping of these kind of events. Okay? But still, let's go through these kind of steps that we have taken for the handling of cloudbursts. Okay? So these are government initiatives for the mitigation of cloudbursts. First is mapping. First step that we have taken is mapping. Now, don't write. So see, we will discuss these things. या आपको मिल जाएगा आज के लिए. It's not more than, let's say, 30 pages. 30 ये slides pages भी नहीं है, इतना ही लिखना है आपको, और उसमें से आगे से ज़्यादा पिक्चर्स ही है, right? You can see. You don't have to write much. और ये तो हमने पहले कवर कर लिया. Let's focus on the government initiative. ठीक, if we go by this way, we will be able to focus on conceptual part. ये informative part है. And we are also discussing this thing. ऐसा नहीं कि मैं जैसे आपको let's say पढ़ के सुना रहा हूँ. We'll be talking about let's say what exactly is the steps, what exactly are the steps that government has. First is mapping. Now, first point, no specific mapping for cloudburst, as cloudburst is a highly localized event. हम लोग स्पेसिफिक मैपिंग नहीं कर सकते हैं इस डिजास्टर. नेक्स्ट, ऑल्सो क्लाउडबर्स्ट आर नॉट स्पेशली फिक्स्ड नहीं है, मतलब किस स्पेस में आएंगे, दैट इज ऑल्सो नॉट फिक्स्ड. दैट्स व्हाई व्हाट इज डिफिकल्ट, मैपिंग इज डिफिकल्ट, राइट? नेक्स्ट, देयरफॉर देयर आर नो डेडिकेटेड क्लाउडबर्स्ट वल्नरेबिलिटी मैप्स प्रिपेयर्ड इन इंडिया. डू वी हैव क्लाउडबर्स्ट वल्नरेबिलिटी मैप्स? नो. व्हाई? बिकॉज़ इट इज ए हाईली लोकलाइज्ड इवेंट. ठीक है, तो हम लोग किस चीजों पे फोकस कर रहे हैं? इन लेट्स से मैपिंग का हम यूज कर रहे हैं, इन मैप्स का हम लोग यूज कर रहे हैं. Instead, India uses associated hazard maps. What we are using? Associated hazard maps in order to reduce the loss that may occur because of cloudburst. We are not using the maps for cloudburst vulnerability. Instead, we are using maps like first landslide map by Geological Survey of India. Right? Have we discussed just now that one of the impacts of cloudburst is landslides? So what we will have to focus upon? We will have to focus upon those areas which are prone to landslides because of the occurrence of rainfall. ऐसे areas का map हम use कर रहे हैं even for the management of cloudburst. Here, secondly, flash flood vulnerability index prepared by NRSC. flash flood vulnerability index. Now there are some regions because of let's say their proximity to some kind of riverine body, they may be prone to flash flood kind of events. So those kind of maps are also being used for the management of cloudburst. What's a map? Flash flood vulnerability index prepared by NRSC. What is NRSC? National Remote Sensing Center of ISRO, which is located in Delhi. Extreme rainfall areas map prepared by IMD. IMD, does it give us idea about the areas where availability of rainfall during rainy season, during monsoon season will be more? Yes, that kind of map is given by IMD. So those maps we are using. Why? Let's say we are focusing on these extremely high rainfall areas, because in these extremely high rainfall areas there will be availability of more moisture. And due to climate change, temperatures are rising, and that's why there might be availability of updraft as well. Hence we are focusing on those kind of areas. Right? So try to understand, we have specific cloudburst vulnerability map. What we use let's say secondary hazard maps or associated hazard maps for the management of cloudburst as well. Here, so that is first mapping. Second is early warning system. Can we carry out early warning? Let's say can we give early warning for the occurrence of cloudburst? No, not possible. Why? Because they are highly localized. ठीक है, आपने ऐसे let's say कुछ सेंटर्स बनाए रडार्स आपने एस्टैब्लिश किए फॉर माउंटेनस रीजन, बट माउंटेनस रीजन itself is a huge region. आप किस माउंटेनस रीजन के पार्ट पे फोकस करें? That's why it's very difficult to come up with early warning even for cloudburst. And that's why what we do, IMD is Doppler weather radars in Uttarakhand, Himachal, Jammu and Kashmir, and northeastern states. What IMD has done, IMD has established Doppler radars in areas where more occurrence of rainfall is. Are these areas where we have relatively more occurrence of rainfall? Yes, and that's why we can say that in areas में अगर हम Doppler radars लगाएंगे, हम लोग आइडेंटिफाई कर पाएंगे कि किस एरिया में ज्यादा रेनफॉल के क्लाउड्स एक्यूमुलेट हो रहे हैं. I have told you earlier that Doppler radars are the radars that can help us identify rain-bearing clouds. अगर ऐसे rain-bearing clouds किसी mountainous region में accumulate हो रहे हैं, we can get that idea with the help of these kind of Doppler radars, and then we can give alert to that particular region that in this particular area there is a possibility that cloudburst may occur. Instead of saying like that, we will not be using obviously the term cloudburst. There is a possibility that in that particular area torrential rainfall will occur. IMD ऐसी warning नहीं देता कि इस एरिया में cloudburst होने वाला है. No, why? Because they are not able to predict. Right? So what kind of warning they will give? Torrential rainfall, high, let's say red alerts will be sounded for that particular area where there is possibility that more rainfall will occur. Right? So IMD's Doppler radars have been established in these areas. Second, use of automated weather stations, satellites for real-time rainfall and precipitation data. Apart from these Doppler radars, are they everywhere? No, see, they are extremely costly, and that's why we have only established them in these states. And two in these states only in certain locations. And that's why along with these kind of Doppler radars, we will also have to rely on automatic weather stations along with satellite data. इसका भी use हम करेंगे in order to identify which areas may get more amount of rainfall. Can it tell us about the cloudburst? No, it can only tell us about rainfall. That in a particular area there is chance of occurrence of more rainfall. Okay, next. Right, now this is very important. Warnings are generally for heavy rainfall or flash floods, not specific cloudburst events. Cannot give predictions for cloudburst. इसलिए किसी भी रीजन को अगर हमें वार्न करना होगा, हम उसे हेवी रेनफॉल की या फ्लैश फ्लड्स की वार्निंग देंगे, हम उसे क्लाउडबर्स्ट की वार्निंग नहीं दे सकते. Here, everyone, so that is the second point related to the management of cloudburst. Right? In both the points, our focus is not specifically on cloudburst but on rainfall. Okay, next, structural measures. Now, apart from these kind of measures, wherein we let's say answer right and doubts. थोड़ा सा आज का पार्ट बचा रहेगा, that we will cover, and then we'll take answer right. Ready? You can see that mountainous regions are more prone to these kind of things, but otherwise it's very difficult to carry out mapping of these kind of events. Okay, but still. Let's go through these kind of steps that we have taken for the handling of cloudburst. Okay. So these are government initiatives for the mitigation of cloudburst. First is mapping. First step that we have taken is mapping. Now, don't write. So see, we will discuss these things. ये आपको मिल जाएगा आज ही आज लिख लीजिए. It's not more than let's say 30 pages. 30 ये slides pages भी नहीं है, इतना ही लिखना है आप. Right? और उसमें से आधे से ज़्यादा pictures ही है. Right? You can see. You don't have to write much. You will be able to. ठीक है, आपने ऐसे let's say कुछ centers बनाए not specific cloudburst events. ठीक है, we cannot. We cannot give predictions for cloudburst. इसीलिए किसी भी रीजन को अगर हमें वार्न करना होगा, हम उसे हम उसे हेवी रेनफॉल की या फ्लैश फ्लड्स की वार्निंग देंगे, हम उसे क्लाउडबर्स्ट की वार्निंग नहीं दे सकते. Here, everyone, so that is the second point related to the management of cloudburst. Right? In both the points, our focus is not specifically on cloudburst but on rainfall. Okay, next. Structural measures. Now, apart from these kind of measures wherein we are giving warnings with respect to high rainfall in that area, we are also working for some structural measures. Structural measures means some kind of infrastructure. First, widening and deepening of natural drains. Now, apart from, let's say, amongst plain and mountainous areas, which areas are more vulnerable to the occurrence of cloudburst? Mountainous regions. So, mountainous regions में जो भी natural drains है, right? Drains, that means they are the, let's say, a kind of area where there will be a capacity to accommodate water, right? Water को accommodate करने की capacity है. उस storm water drainage systems in mountainous towns. Apart from these natural drains widening and deepening, there are also, let's say, human-made drainage structures are being created in mountainous regions as well. उसे हम क्या कहते हैं? Storm water drainage system. जो भी, let's say, extra rainfall आएगा, it may be the case that we will be able to use these kind of storm water drainage systems to evacuate that extra water from the area where it has been dropped by the events like cloudburst. ठीक है? अगर किसी एरिया में cloudburst होता है तो उस पानी को हमें evacuate करना पड़ेगा. For that we can use storm water drainage systems. Right? Next, check dams. Check dams. Can it reduce the speed of water? And thus it will be able to reduce the events like flash floods. Right? We can make sure that flash floods are converted into floods with the help of check dams. Right? We won't be able to stop them, but at least उसकी speed कम करके हम लोग उससे जो damage होने वाला है वो कम कर सकते हैं. Right? Next, terracing and contour trenches to reduce flow velocity. Right? We can use slope terracing, which we have already talked about. Contour trenches means trenches along the slope. Contour trenches means, let's say ये एक mountainous slope है. Consider that this is one mountainous slope. Trenches are trenches along the slope. Contour trenches means, let's say ये एक mountainous slope है. We talked about. Contour trenches means trenches along the slope. Contour trenches means, let's say ये एक mountainous slope है. Consider that this is one mountainous slope. What is slope farming? Slope terracing क्या होता है? Slope terracing. तो इस एरिया को हम लोग कट करेंगे and we will build a kind of terrace there. We'll build a kind of terrace there. इसकी वजह से क्या होगा? तो water है जो suddenly flow हो सकता था वो रुक के flow. That's why flash floods will not happen. Right? This is slope terracing. This is slope terracing. Now let me tell you what is slope, what is contour trenching. Now, will it also help us reduce the flow of water? Right, so that is what is contour trenching. Trenches means a kind of, let's say, pits. Those pits have been made along the slope. उसे हम कहते हैं contour trenches. Right? So with the help of this, we are able to, or we will be able to reduce the speed of water. We cannot stop floods. We will be able to at least convert flash floods into floods with the help of these kind of structures. Next is land use regulations. Now, based on the past events of cloudburst or based on the events like, let's say, heavy rainfall in a certain region, हम लोग क्या कर सकते हैं? किसी भी एरिया में पहले cloudburst आए हैं या जिस एरिया में heavy rainfall हो सकता है, उस एरिया में हम land use regulate करेंगे. That means we will not allow, let's say, heavy human activities, heavy human density activities in areas which have the events, which have seen the events like cloudburst or which have higher rainfall in those areas. ऐसे एरियाज में जहाँ पे heavy rainfall है, let's say, or more occurrence of cloudburst हो सकती है, तो उस एरिया में हम land use regulate करेंगे. We will not allow people to, let's say, settle in that particular area. We will make sure that that area is kept for low human impact activities. जो low human impact activities है, उनके लिए हम वो एरिया रिजर्व करके रखेंगे. We will not allow, let's say, human settlement in that particular area. इसकी वजह से क्या होगा? We will be able to make sure that even if some kind of cloudburst event occur there, we will be able to reduce at least loss occurring, especially to human life. No construction zones near riverbanks and steep slopes. We'll make sure that near riverbanks and steep slopes there is no construction. Right? Steep slopes, so we can understand why not riverbanks. Why not riverbanks? Why along the riverbanks we are not allowing any construction? Because उस construction से river की, let's say, river का जो channel है वो narrow हो सकता है, and that's why its water accommodating capacity will reduce. So if we allow construction along the riverbanks, it will work against this widening and deepening of natural drainage. ठीक है? Construction of buildings above.
अरे ये 2 दिन पहले था भाई, मतलब तो 1K हुए थे, मतलब जब मैं एंड किया ना लाइक तो 1K थे व्यूज. कमेंट एक भी नहीं.
Above flood levels is not permitted. Construction of buildings above flood levels is not permitted. What is flood line? A flood line is a scientifically mapped line that marks the maximum level where flood water can reach. Right? इस level के ऊपर या इस level के नीचे, not ऊपर, इस level के नीचे will not allow the construction activity. Why? Because इस level के नीचे अगर हमने construction activity allow कर दी, तो there might be more loss of human life. So we'll make sure that along these flood lines we do not. Flood lines we do not allow any kind of construction. So all these measures will fall under land regulation. Here, next, protection of wetlands and introduction of local plant species.
बहुत तेजस्वी लोग हैं।
plant species under afforestation programs. Right? Wetlands, अगर हमने इस एरियाज में जहाँ पे heavy rainfall occur होता है, इस एरिया में हमने अगर wetland को protect किया, can we see that there will be availability of more space for that water to sink inside the ground? Yes. And with the help of let's say local species of plant, we'll be able to ensure that there is no uprooting of trees. अगर ये trees withhold रह सकते हैं even during flash floods, they will be able to reduce the flow of water. They will be able to reduce the speed of water. That's why we will be able to convert at least flash floods. Into floods. Okay, so why local plant species are focused in deforestation? Because these local plant species have adopted to heavy rainfall in that particular region, and that's why they will be able to withstand even during heavy rainfall. अगर वो withstand करते हैं even during heavy rainfall, can we see that there will be a kind of obstruction to the flow of water? Yes, and that's why we'll be able to reduce flash floods into floods. Next, so this strategy is eco-DRR, which we have already referred. Next, कहाँ रेफर किया था? Mangroves, right? We have referred to tsunamis. Tsunami के discussion में हमने mangroves का let's say preservation का point देखा था. There we have added this term eco-DRR. Next, community awareness and preparedness. We need to make people aware that their area may be prone to the cloudburst, and that's why we will make sure that see government construction करता है, infrastructure build करता है, that they will take care of कि हाँ ये construction ऐसे area में हो जो cloudburst से prone नहीं है या heavy rainfall से prone नहीं. So we'll have to make people aware कि वो भी जो housing वगैरह construct करते हैं, that housing they should avoid in areas where heavy rainfall activity is there. या even if let's say they are constructing in heavy rainfall areas, they should avoid those areas जहाँ से वो पानी बहता है. Otherwise, if they construct in that particular area where from which water drains, then their houses, their dwellings will be more vulnerable to the occurrence of cloudburst. Fine. Next, community awareness and preparedness for this. Village level mock drills by NDRF and SDRF are carried out. Fine. So, इससे क्या होगा? Community awareness होगा, and people will be able to prepare themselves for the events like cloudburst. Fine. And last but the most important is climate change mitigation. Right. See, we have referred to the point that due to climate change, there is more moisture and temperature that is getting available in the atmosphere. As a result of that, cloudburst events are occurring more and more these days. 2013, we refer to one of the instances of 2013 Drought-prone floods. Delhi carried out research. What was the cause behind these floods? And they found out that climate change was one of the factors that led to that kind of floods. Okay, so cloudburst की वजह से, climate change की वजह से cloudburst की जो instances वो बढ़ रही है. That's why we'll have to focus on climate change mitigation initiatives. Right? Have you referred to these initiatives? Can you please tell me one or two? हाँ तो बोल देते हो, ना भी बोल देते हो. अगर उसके आगे जाके कुछ पूछा तो ऐसा नो नहीं है. We have discussed at least 10 steps for the mitigation of climate change. Right? For example, you can talk about National Green Hydrogen Mission, which we started in January 2023. Then there are steps to promote renewable energy. For example, there is National Solar Mission, Pradhan Mantri Surya Ghar Bijli Yojana. A number of initiatives we have discussed. You can refer to those initiatives. CCPS, right? We have talked about carbon credit trading system as well. Right? Next, so that what are the steps that have been taken by the government in order to mitigate cloudburst. Right? If you see these steps carefully, hardly any step is there that is directed towards cloudburst directly. Directly cloudburst आप tackle ही नहीं कर सकते हो. You have to focus on the associated hazards. Why? Because cloudbursts are highly localized. Here, so way forward. What is the way forward? What is the way forward? First and the most important is improving cloudburst detection. अभी तक see, we have discussed that cloudbursts are extremely localized events and that's why its detection is not possible. But if we come up with let's say hyperlocal AWS, we right now have local AWS. उसे अगर हम hyperlocal करते हैं, मतलब अभी मान लेते हैं इस जगह पे 2 AWS है. If we let's say come up with 4 AWS for this particular region, it be possible for us to locate these kind of clouds that may lead to torrential rainfall for this particular area. Possible. Right? And that's why we are saying that improving cloudburst detection, this is possible with the help of hyperlocal AWS and Doppler radars. Increase the density of Doppler radars. See, you are losing 2 to 3% of your GDP because of let's say disasters that are occurring in India. So if you invest some amount in the management of disaster, it might be the case the losses that you are incurring because of disaster you will be able to reduce. Right? तो आपकी choice है, आपको loss bear करके financial loss bear करके आपको let's say मानना है, या you have to invest before your loss of financial loss of let's say some kind of infrastructure and those financial losses. Right? So choice is yours. Next, AI based early warning system. AI based early warning system can help us. See, अगर मान लेते हैं AWS radars, what AWS and radars can give us? What AWS automated weather stations and radars can give us? Data. What they can give us? Data. Now, if you employ AI to analyze this data, can we say that we will be able to come up with more, let's say, we will be able to come up with better predictions for the events like cloudburst? Possible. That's why we can use AI for early warning system. It's cloudburst resilient infrastructure. You have to make sure that the infrastructure that you build in areas where heavy rainfall is possible, that infrastructure should be able to withstand flash floods. And that's why that kind of infrastructure we can promote in prone areas. And lastly, disaster insurance. Here, these are the steps that can be suggested. See, ये point तो हमने हर जगह लिखा. These are the point. ठीक है. See, ये point हमने हर जगह लिखा है, but that does not mean you won't be able to write it in the mains answers. Right? आपको कितने आंसर्स लिखने हैं? 2 आंसर्स लिखने हैं डिजास्टर मैनेजमेंट से. You can anyway write disaster insurance. हाँ, थोड़ा सा मतलब अगर if you want to avoid repetition in the second answer, use something else. See, you'll have to write very smart. मान लेते 2 क्वेश्चन है डिजास्टर मैनेजमेंट के. पहले क्वेश्चन में आपके पास ज्यादा पॉइंट्स नहीं है to write conclusion. Use these kind of things. And for second, if let's say ऐसा क्वेश्चन है जो आपने प्रिपेयर किया है, then in those kind of questions avoid these points like disaster insurance. फिर वहाँ पे अच्छे पॉइंट्स लिख सकते हैं. So that is what is cloudburst. Next is droughts. So how many pages you should leave? ये दो है and these two. 8 pages are there. Sorry, 4 slides है. 4 slides है. 4 slides के लिए maybe 2 pages, 2.5 pages, 3 pages काफी होंगे as per your right. Next is drought. Next is droughts. Next is drought. ठीक है. Drought मतलब सूखा. So write down some points. Definition. Definition. You know, as per IMD, Indian Meteorological Department, as per IMD. IMD. Drought in an area occurs when. Drought in an area occurs when the rainfall deficiency is. Drought in an area occurs when. Drought in an area occurs when the rainfall deficiency is. When the rainfall deficiency is more than 25%. More than 25%. Rainfall deficiency is more than 25%. अगर more than 25% rainfall deficiency है, उस event को हम लोग क्या कह सकते हैं? Droughts. Next point. Further, if rainfall deficiency is between moderate, is between 25 to 50%. Is between 25 to 50%. It would be referred as 5 to 50%. Is between 25 to 50%. It would be referred as moderate drought. It would be referred as moderate drought. And in case rainfall deficiency is more than 50%. More than 50% is rainfall deficiency is. In case rainfall deficiency is more than 50%. It would be referred as severe. It would be referred as severe drought. Okay. So what is drought as per IMD? IMD says that if the rainfall deficiency is more than again, it classifies droughts as if the rainfall deficiency is between 25 to 50%, it would be considered as medium drought. If the rainfall deficiency is more than 50%, it would be referred as severe drought. Okay? That's what is IMD is the definition. Now, one important change has occurred in 2016. What is that change? Try to understand. See, is it the case that only on the basis of rainfall deficiency we can say that drought has occurred? Is it the case? अगर मान लेते हैं drought, मान लेते हैं इतना rainfall deficient है. Consider that in a particular year, this much deficiency of rainfall has occurred. But despite that, if we have enough water in, let's say, reservoirs, can we say that that year is also a drought? Ideally, we should not. Because it is not only drought is not only about rainfall deficiency. It is also about the availability of water in reservoirs. It is also about the availability of soil moisture. That's why from 2016 onwards, IMD has stopped using this term drought. Okay? Instead of that, it comes up with, let's say, low rainfall years. Right? It does not use term drought anymore. Clear point? Why? Because it is not drought is not always related to deficiency in rainfall. Right? So please write down one point. Since 2016, since 2016, IMD has stopped using term drought. IMD 2016, IMD has stopped using term drought. IMD has stopped using term drought. Instead, it is using terms like efficient years, efficient year, efficient year to describe low rainfall conditions. Efficient year to describe low rainfall condition. Okay, it's a point. This change has occurred because IMD is not an authority to declare droughts. Is not an authority to declare droughts. Okay? See, try to understand this point. Very important. अगर मान लेते हैं before 2016 when IMD is using terms like drought, इस साल drought है, IMD ने अपने let's say rainfall data में दे दिया, इस साल drought आने वाला है, these days drought is. Now if droughts are there, then number of government initiatives are invoked automatically. Right? Farmers will demand करेंगे we need restructuring of loans. Right? But nearly, as we have already discussed, nearly efficiency of rainfall will not lead to restructuring of loans. It has to be there. Droughts should be there on the ground. That's why IMD does not have that kind of authority to declare droughts. Since 2016, it is not using that term drought. क्योंकि अगर IMD ने drought declare कर दिया, तो state governments को बहुत सारे initiatives implement करने होंगे. For example, it might be the case that state governments will have to carry out restructuring of agricultural. Secondly, it might be the case that state governments will have to establish animal camps because other drought है, so it might be the case there is lack of availability of water, and that's why animal camps has to be established by state government. Secondly, thirdly, it might be the case that state governments will have to give double employment under MG Narega and these days now G scheme. So ऐसे initiatives state governments को लेने पड़ेंगे क्यों? क्योंकि at the central level IMD has declared drought. So to ensure that this kind of miscommunication or lack of coordination between center and state do not occur, IMD की जो power थी drought का term use करने की वो हमने हटा दी है from 2016. ठीक है? Then who is the authority in India who can declare droughts? State governments. Right? It is the state governments that declare droughts in India. So it's fine, you can write. State governments using indicators like rainfall deficiency. कौन देता है rainfall deficiency? IMD. Right? IMD का data use होगा, पर IMD खुद से declare नहीं करेगी. ठीक है? Crop loss, soil moisture, reservoir levels, etc. Will declare droughts. Mark this point as important. Right? Underline states. States declare droughts in India. Okay? So So while we can say that, at the most we can say that while declaring droughts, state will use data given by IMD. Okay, so that much we can say that IMD has the role in let's say declaration of drought, but they on their own cannot declare. Here, everyone, next one, or if one, yes, yes. So that is the point. Next one. For the whole country, for the whole country, Indian summer monsoon rainfall, Indian summer monsoon rainfall is considered to be average 88 centimeters. It's considered to be average 88 centimeters. Okay, monsoonal rainfall कितना है? Average 88 centimeters. The point is considered to be monsoon rainfall is considered to be average 88 centimeters. It's considered to be average 88 centimeters. Okay, monsoonal rainfall कितना है? Average 88 centimeters. The point, when deficiency exceeds 10%, when deficiency exceeds 10%, and when the area under drought exceeds 20% of the total area of the plains in the country, then of the 20% of the total area of the plains in the country, then the situation is considered as for the whole country. Okay? So what is drought for whole country? Try to understand. For whole country, we can say that drought occurs when rainfall is deficient by 10%. More than 10% rainfall deficiency. Okay? And this much deficiency should be there in more than 20% of the areas of all the plains that we have in India. जो भी plain area है, उसमें से more than 20% area में 10% deficiency of rainfall should be there. Then only we will be able to consider it as a drought for whole of the country. Are you able to understand? It's a complicated, but focus. I'm thinking you'll be able to understand. What we need, first of all, we have to have rainfall deficiency in more than 10% of area. That is first condition. Okay? Second condition is that this kind of deficiency should be there in more than 20% of the land of the total plain area in India. जितना भी plain area है, उसमें से 20% area में हमें rainfall deficiency चाहिए. कितनी rainfall deficiency? Here, that's what is drought for whole of the country. Here है everyone. So no, say here. So that's what is the definition of droughts. Next, drought-prone area in India. Drought-prone area in India. Okay. So first, under that first, chronically drought affected area. Chronic means long term. long term हमेशा उस रीजन में हमें ड्रॉट ही देखने को मिले. Right? So long term basis पे जो drought से affected area है, that area is called as chronically drought affected area. So chronically drought affected area. After that, it has a probability of not exceeding 20%. Not exceeding 20%. मतलब क्या? 20% ड्रॉट मतलब क्या? 5 सालों में एक बार ड्रॉट आएगा ही. ऐसे एरिया को हम कहेंगे chronically affected by drought. Right? So in other words, such regions can expect at least one drought in 5 or 4 years. Right? ऐसे एरिया को हम क्या कहते हैं? Chronically affected by drought. Right? So you can write names. Western Rajasthan and entire Gujarat is a part of chronically affected drought areas. Western Rajasthan and entire Gujarat. ठीक है? That is chronically affected drought area. Next one. Second, frequently on an entire Gujarat. ठीक है? That is chronically affected drought area. Next one. Second, frequently drought prone areas. Second, frequently drought prone areas. Under that, probability of drought is between 10 to 20%. Probability of droughts is 10 to 20%. मतलब क्या? 6 या 10 सालों में एक बार ड्रॉट आएगा ही इसे, right? Between 6 to 10 years, at least for one time, we will be able to see that drought is there in these areas. Fine. उस एरिया को हम क्या कहेंगे? Frequently drought prone area. Examples. देखिए एरिया, ईस्टर्न यूपी, उत्तराखंड, हरियाणा, पंजाब, ईस्टर्न यूपी, उत्तराखंड, हरियाणा, पंजाब, हिमाचल प्रदेश, ईस्टर्न राजस्थान, वेस्टर्न एमपी, मराठवाड़ा, विदर्भ, तेलंगाना, कोस्टल आंध्र प्रदेश एंड रायलसीमा किसका पार्ट है? रायलसीमा is a part of Andhra Pradesh. Right? Rayalaseema is a part of Andhra Pradesh. ठीक है? So these are areas which are frequently prone to droughts. Here everyone, ठीक है? क्या definition है frequently prone to droughts? Probability of droughts is 10 to 20%. Next, least drought affected areas. Under that, here probability of drought is less than 10%. Probability of is less than 10%. Fine. So rest of the areas in our country are least drought affected. So apparently these pose no problem from rainfall point of view, as they mostly belong to per humid and humid regions of climate zone. So यहाँ पे mostly rainfall अच्छा होता है, but sometimes it might be the case because of El Nino kind of conditions there could be occurrence of these kind of, let's say, drought conditions. ठीक है? So बाकी का जो area है that will fall under least drought affected. Fine. This is the map. So this is the map that I have taken from government source, but for strange reasons they have not, let's say, used this particular area. एक जो वेस्टर्न राजस्थान का एरिया है जो हमने देखा है कि फर्स्ट कैटेगरी में आता है, chronically drought affected areas में वेस्टर्न राजस्थान है, but in this map they have not used, they have not highlighted western Rajasthan. Okay? This is one map from the government source. Then this is the latest map that we have with respect to areas that are prone to droughts. ठीक है? Just go through this map, you'll be able to highlight the area. So आपको सिर्फ याद रखना ये part और ये part prone है to the occurrence of droughts, chronically prone to the occurrence of droughts. Here, next causes. Now coming back to our discussion on critical code causes. What are the causes for the occurrence of drought in India? First is meteorological causes. Under that first is efficient monsoonal rainfall. Efficient monsoonal rainfall. Deficient monsoonal rainfall. And long dry spells. Long dry spells. Meteorological causes are deficient monsoonal rainfall. See, sometimes, it's very difficult to predict monsoon. कि कितना rainfall होता है, right? Even today, we are not able to predict exactly how much rainfall will India be receiving in monsoonal season. So sometimes it may be the case that some years are deficient monsoonal years. So let's say years में हमें drought देखने को मिल सकता है. Secondly, long dry spells may also occur. We have discussed that rainfall occurs in spells. So जो let's say lean phase होता है of rainfall, that may be exceedingly more. For example, this happened in 2023. The 2023 was the year wherein we received in Delhi NCR region approximately 240 mm of rainfall was received in 3 days. After that, for at least 1.5 to 2 months, there was no rain. So अगर exceedingly large or long dry spells होंगे, तो there is a possibility that drought may occur in that particular period. Right? So that is one reason, called as meteorological reason for the occurrence of droughts. Next, it says climatic conditions. Climatic conditions. What kind of climatic conditions? First and the most important is El Nino events. El Nino events. El Nino events. I hope you understand El Nino. You understand what is El Nino? No? Fine. So El Nino is a kind of accumulation of warmer waters in the Peruvian coast. Right? So try to understand, this is very important. Focus. See, इसका detailed discussion आपको geography में होगा, but let me help you understand how exactly El Nino events lead to deficient rainfalls in India or may lead to deficient rainfalls in India. So let us consider that this is equator. This is India, right? So consider that this is India. Then this is horns of Africa. This is horns of Africa. This is, let's say, Australia. Let's say this is Australia. And this is South America. Okay. So this is Australia. This is India. This is horns of Africa. So generally, how rainfall occur in India? Trade winds are there. Right? You must have heard about trade winds. Okay, trade winds are about. So trade winds in the southern hemisphere. What is the direction of trade winds? In southern hemisphere, what is the direction of trade winds? Right to left. ऐसे नीमिंग नहीं होती है winds की. Winds are like this, right? जहाँ से start होते हैं, उसका नाम होता है. So they are starting from southeast direction. That's why trade winds are in this way. So when trade winds are in this way in the southern, this is the normal condition. This is the normal condition of trade winds. And for northern hemisphere, this is the direction. Northeastern trade winds are, right? Or try to understand for summer season in northern hemisphere. For summer season in northern hemisphere, ITCZ shift excessively upwards, excessively in the northern direction, right? ITCZ, intertropical convergence zone, which ideally is there in and around the equator, moves to the northern locations during summer season for northern hemisphere. So ideally यहाँ पे होता है ITCZ, पर during let's say summer conditions, summer seasons for northern hemisphere, ITCZ यहाँ पे आता है. ITCZ अगर यहाँ पे है, यहाँ पे कौन सी pressure conditions होनी चाहिए? Low pressure होना चाहिए यहाँ. Right? So in this particular area, we have availability of low pressure. Now, as ITCZ has moved up, these trade winds, these southeast trade winds, they will also move in this particular direction. Right? Southeast trade winds move in this direction. क्यों? क्योंकि ITCZ जहाँ पे वो converge होती है, वो ऊपर चला गया. That's why they will also move towards up. Fine. So that's what is the area where southeast trade winds will reach during summer season for northern hemisphere. ये जो southeast trade winds है, now they move in this particular direction. Why? Because the low pressure, excessively low pressure that we have in this particular area attracts these trade winds. Fine. So ये जो trade winds है, जो southeast direction में जा रही थी, वो अभी इंडिया की तरफ जा रही है, and that is what we call as southwest monsoon. This is what we call as southwest monsoon. ठीक है? This is normal condition for the occurrence of rainfall. ये normally ऐसे होता है. Fine. Now try to understand. अगर इस एरिया में, now please be focused here. So generally यहाँ पे जो current है, उसे हम Peruvian cold current कहते हैं. So let's say this is Peruvian cold current. Now, due to some conditions which will be discussed in geography in detail, due to some conditions, what happened? At least the northern part of the Peruvian cold current is replaced by the warm current, like warm waters. Instead of cold current in the Peruvian coast, there will be accumulation of some warm waters in this particular Peruvian coast. Okay? Warm waters means generally which kind of pressure conditions? Warm waters will lead to occurrence of, let's say, low pressure condition in this particular area. Right? So this area में low pressure conditions occur. Fine. Now, as low pressure conditions have occurred in this particular area, trade winds, जो generally ऐसे जाती है, trade winds which go generally in this particular direction, they get attracted towards this low pressure condition. Generally, जो trade winds ऐसे जाती है, due to El Nino kind of events, get attracted towards this particular low pressure condition. As a result of that, as trade winds move in this particular low pressure area, it will give plenty of rainfall in the South American region. The trade winds, which actually should have moved in this direction, are not moving in this direction now. And that's why it might be the case there would be a question mark on the availability of these southeast trade winds. And if southeast trade winds are not there, obviously there would be a question mark even on southwest trade winds, southwest monsoon winds. Okay, so that is how El Nino affects Indian monsoon. I repeat. Normally, कैसे rainfall आता है? Southeast trade winds they move in the southwest direction because of the low pressure belt that is created in northern Gangetic belts. Right? So इसी वजह से southwest monsoon हमारे पास आता है. But अगर किसी जो conditions geography में discuss होंगे, to some conditions, the upper part of Peruvian cold current is replaced with warm waters. There will be accumulation of warm waters in the eastern part of Pacific Ocean around the equator. Around the equator, in the eastern part of Pacific Ocean, there will be accumulation of warm waters. So due to those warm waters, there will be creation of conditions in the form of low pressure. Those low pressure conditions will attract southeast trade winds. As a result of that, southeast trade winds will not move towards the, let's say, horns of Africa. If southeast trade winds are not moving towards the horns of Africa, will not be going towards India in the form of southwest monsoon. Okay, that may lead to the occurrence of droughts in India. India में इसकी वजह से droughts आने के chances है. You have to understand that there is no one-to-one relation between El Nino and droughts in India. There is no one-to-one relation between El Nino and failure of monsoon in India. ऐसा नहीं है कि हमेशा जब El Nino आएगा तब इंडिया में मॉनसून फेल होगा. No, this kind of one-to-one relation, ये इसका मतलब ये ऐसा नहीं है. You have to take into account other factors as well. Fine, so that's what is El Nino. थोड़ी आइडिया आगे होगी. I hope थोड़ी आइडिया आगे होगी. दादा और अच्छी आइडिया आपको ज्योग्राफी में आ जाए. ठीक है. Let me just take it सिर्फ थोड़ा सा मैप would be like this. No, it is accumulation. It's accumulation of warm waters in the eastern parts of Pacific Ocean around the equatorial region. That's what is up. No, see, the air that is moving towards India will be attracted towards it. Right? See, Indian monsoon is not only the result of trade winds that are available in Indian Ocean region. It's also the result of trade winds that are there in Pacific Ocean. Pacific Ocean की conditions भी Indian monsoon को affect करती है. It's not only on the basis of these trade winds available in let's say Indian Ocean region we get monsoonal rainfall. It's not it. Even the trade winds available in Pacific Ocean will have their impact on India. See, जब भी El Nino आएगा ऐसा इसका ये मतलब नहीं कि rainfall zero हो जाए. Rainfall will be there. Rainfall will be occurring because of this. But the rainfall that we generally receive, मान लेते 88 सेंटीमीटर का एवरेज है. El Nino आ गया. It might be the case. अगर हम बाकी के फैक्टर अभी कंसीडर ना करें. अगर El Nino आ गया है तो हम 88 सेंटीमीटर के जगह पे we will receive only 50 सेंटीमीटर ऑफ. ठीक है. वो कहाँ से आएगा? वो ट्रेड विंड्स फ्रॉम दिस पर्टिकुलर. तो वो 88 के लिए जो ट्रेड विंड्स नेसेसरी थी वो इंडिया की तरफ मूव नहीं. Here, so that is what is El Nino. Fine. Now, as I have already referred, there is no one-to-one relation between El Nino and Indian monsoon, and that's why apart from El Nino events, you also have to take into account Indian Ocean dipole. Indian Ocean dipole, denoted as IOD. Denoted as IOD. The point here, IOD. It is the temperature difference between. It is the temperature difference between. Indian Ocean, Western Ocean in bracket near Africa, and Eastern Indian Ocean bracket near Africa, Western Indian Ocean in bracket near Africa, and Eastern Indian Ocean near in bracket near Indonesia, So this kind of let's say conditions, temperature conditions in Eastern and Western Indian Ocean are referred as Indian Ocean. Indian Ocean dipole क्या है? Conditions है, temperature conditions है. कहाँ? Eastern Indian Ocean में और Western Indian Ocean. ठीक है? So next one. Positive IOD leads to warmer Western Indian Ocean than Eastern Indian Ocean. So this enhances Indian monsoon. It's a point. Negative IOD, Indian Ocean negative IOD leads to warmer Eastern Indian Ocean. Warmer Eastern Indian Ocean and Western Indian Ocean. So when this negatively affects Indian Ocean. This negatively affects Indian Ocean, monsoon. This negatively affects Indian monsoon. Okay? So this is what is positive IOD. This is positive IOD. What is IOD? IOD is a temperature difference between Western and Eastern Indian Ocean. ठीक है? Positive IOD अगर होता है, मतलब क्या? अगर Western Indian Ocean में temperature ज़्यादा है, तो trade wind will be attracted there, right? The winds will be, instead of saying trade winds will be attracted to that particular part of Western Indian Ocean. That's why there is a chance that those winds that are attracted towards the western part of Indian Ocean will move as southwest monsoon in India. Possibilities. ठीक है? अगर वैसे होता है तो इंडिया में monsoonal season को फायदा, it enhances Indian monsoon. So that is what is positive Indian Ocean. Like you can see, India here, this is Horns of Africa. In the western part, we have more temperature, and that's why winds are moving towards that particular part. They will move, let's say, towards India eventually, and that will lead to rainfall in it. Possibilities. Okay? So that is what is positive IOD. अगर अल नीनो की कंडीशन है और उस साल पॉजिटिव आईओडी होगा तो if El Nino is there in certain year and in that year itself if positive IOD is there, then what? Then Indian monsoonal rainfall will not be affected by El Nino. That's why we are saying that there is no one-to-one relation between El Nino and Indian monsoons. ठीक है? हर साल जब El Nino होगा उसका ये मतलब नहीं है कि इंडिया में ड्रॉट्स आएंगे. अगर जिस साल El Nino है उसी साल पॉजिटिव आईओडी होगा तो it might be the case we get enough or surplus rainfall in it. Right? That's why there is no one-to-one relation between El Nino and Indian droughts. Here, second, this is what is negative phase of IOD. Okay? Eastern Indian Ocean warm होता है and that's why more rainfall will occur in that part, not in areas related to India or areas in and around. This phase is called as negative phase of IOD. Here, everyone. So that is what is these are the climatic factors that lead to droughts in India. हो सकता अगर किसी साल El Nino है और उसी साल let's say negative IOD होगा, it might be the case Indian rainfalls will be affected even more than the years when we have only El Nino. ठीक है? हो सकता. Fine. So that's what are the meteorological and climatic factors. Next, hydrological factors. Hydrological factors. Hydrological factors. After that, low reservoir and dam storage. Low reservoir and dam storage. Low reservoir and dam storage, and one more, decreasing groundwater levels. Decreasing groundwater levels. Okay? These are some of the causes that lead to occurrence of droughts in India. Next, other factors. What kind of other factors are there apart from these factors related to hydrology, climate and meteorology? Which other reasons होंगे? Fine. So faulty agricultural practices. Right? In India, we cultivate, let's say, crops like sugarcane and paddy, which needs lots of water. So these kind of crops are called as water guzzlers. For them, we have to fetch groundwater in an excessive manner, and that will deplete groundwater resources like anything. That's why faulty agricultural practices are one of the major causes of occurrence of drought in India. Next, deforestation. Next, poor irrigation efficiency. What is poor irrigation efficiency? Poor irrigation efficiency. See, in India, we generally, it's till recent times, आजकल change हो रहा है, but till recent time, we use a type of irrigation called as flood irrigation. Right? पानी छोड़ देते हैं, मर्जी चला जाए हम छोड़ देते हैं. That kind of irrigation is called as flood irrigation. Due to flood irrigation, there is excessive loss of water due to evaporation. Right? That's why we can say that this is inefficient way of carrying out irrigation. So this is one of the most important reasons for the occurrence of droughts in India as well. क्योंकि हम लोग efficient use नहीं कर पा रहे हैं of water. So instead of flood irrigation, what we need micro irrigation, which will write in the form of solution. Mismanagement of reservoirs. of reservoirs. Next, breakdown of traditional tanks and Bowery system. Traditional tanks and Bowery system. Bowery system. Step wells. Boweries are step wells. I have pictures. These are boweries. ठीक है. So इनका हम लोग आजकल यूज नहीं कर रहे, and that is leading to droughts in India. That is one of the major cause of droughts in India. ठीक है. Next. Poor rainwater harvesting. In India, approximately 8% of rainfall is harvested. And last is climate change. Okay, so all these are considered as causes of climate change in India. Now, La Nino is an event that will enhance Indian monsoon. Right? It is let's say restoration of the Peruvian current, and it may be the case that during La Nina there will be more cold waters in the eastern part of Pacific Ocean. तो eastern part of Pacific Ocean में ज़्यादा cold पानी आ गया, तो it will lead to high pressure in that particular area, and in that particular area, in high pressure area, winds do not attract from high pressure area; they move towards the low pressure area, which will be there in Indian, let's say, negative plains, and that's why it might be the case it will enhance Indian monsoon. So El Nino is the event that will have its negative impact on Indian monsoon, but La Nina may help Indian monsoon. Okay, so La Nina से फायदा हो सकता है, but अगर La Nina आया और negative आया होगा तो नुकसान will affect India. Consequences. Consequences of droughts in India. First, economic impact. 2 agriculture reduce and farmers income will reduce. Why? It will reduce because it might be the case कि agriculture में हम लोग enough water as a resource we are not able to add, and hence there will be impact on the agricultural production. If agricultural production is getting affected, obviously there will be impact on farmers. Next, industries dependent on agriculture will be affected. Right? Especially let's say cotton, sugarcane, jute industry, all those industries will be negatively affected because of the impact of drought on agriculture. Okay, so industries will also be affected. More impact. Tax collection, GDP, employment, and overall economy will be affected. 5%. Because Indian economy is agrarian economy, which is driven by Indian monsoon. Other droughts आ गए, Indian monsoon fail हो गया, तो Indian economy पे impact हो सकता है. Second impact that we can highlight is social impact. What is social impact of droughts? The most important is malnutrition. So, अगर agriculture produce कम हो रहा है, food grains food grains की availability कम हो गई, and that will put the question mark on food security. अगर food security हम लोग meet नहीं कर पा रहे, there will be impact in the form of market. Next, this is farmers suicide. Okay, as agriculture fails, indebtedness of farmers will increase. As they are not able to pay back their debts, it might be the case that as an extreme, let's say, step, they will commit suicide. And this is very common in southern states, especially Maharashtra. Right? Maharashtra, Karnataka, these are the states where often we come across, let's say, news articles where farmers have committed suicide. It would also lead to displacement of people from drought-prone areas. It will also lead to, let's say, increase in dropout rate, fall in the standard of living, we will be able to see. It may also promote child marriages. Child marriages may increase because of kind of conditions. People will try to get rid of their children. This happens. It might be the case. आप लोग न्यूज़पेपर नहीं पढ़ते हो, so it might be the case हो सकता है कि चाइल्ड मैरिज की संख्या बढ़ जाए because of droughts. Possible. You are laughing at this, but there is a possibility. No problem. You can laugh. आप लोगों ने droughts देखे नहीं है ना, इसी वजह से आपको नहीं पता. When you see it, actually, you will be able to realize it. Next, environmental impact. First, migration of animals. In search of water, animals will migrate, and as they migrate, there could be what? One animal conflict. Next, due to drought, more instances of forest fires we will be able to see. More forest fire. There would be land degradation as well. And overall, we can say that there would be habitat loss. Because these are the impacts that we will be able to highlight of this way. Here है, आपको याद कर सकते हो. Any other impact that you can highlight? Next is mitigation steps for droughts in India. Right, so please understand now. First and the most important step that we take in India is mapping. Can we map droughts? Yes, maps we have seen. Right, flowers के लिए हमने कोई map देखा? नहीं, but for droughts we have seen 2 maps. Right, so yes, we can do mapping, and that is based on data given by IMD and by other agencies. Mapping is done by IMD and is done by IMD and by other agencies. They carried out mapping to identify drought-prone regions, assess severity and support mitigation. So किसने किया है? IMD ने किया है. First, second, early warning and monitoring. Is it possible for us to give early warning for the occurrence? See, drought is a kind of maximum will be there, let's say for weeks, 10 days, 15 days, month at the most. पर उसके बाद नहीं. But drought is that kind of disaster which will be there for longer period of time. ठीक है, so that is what is the difference between drought and other disasters. एरिया बड़ा होगा, ज़्यादा टाइम के लिए होगा, and it will come with warning. So ICAR, Indian Council for Agriculture Research, and ISRO, with the help of Human, soil moisture monitoring, they can give early warning. Reservoir and river water levels that are given by CWC. We have discussed this point that Central Water Commission gives us data with respect to how much is the level of water in rivers as well as in reservoirs. So based on this, we will be able to give early warning. Agricultural based mitigation. As agriculture is the most let's say, vulnerable sector of the economy, agriculture-based mitigation steps have been taken. First, crop-resistant and short-duration crop varieties by ICAR. Indian Council for Agricultural Research has developed drought-resistant and short-duration varieties of different crops. And for that, they have carried out, let's say, selective breeding, as well as they have used, let's say, technologies like biotechnology. Right? इसका use करके उन्होंने ये varieties develop की. Second, crop diversification. We are not only focusing on crops like, let's say, rice or paddy cultivation, wheat, sugarcane. We are diversifying these days as well by, let's say, incorporation of millets, pulses, as well as pulses. Right? I think 2024 was the international year for millets. Right? Millets are called as Sri Anna. हम लोग मिलेट्स पे फोकस कर रहे हैं, but millets are drought prone and they can be grown in an area where soil conditions are not very rich soil conditions. ऐसे areas में भी हम millets को ले सकते हैं. Added to that, they also have some nutritional value, right? For example, our diet is more driven by wheat and rice, and that's why we are the global capital of diabetes. So उसे अगर हमें कम करना है तो हमें millets पे shift होना पड़ेगा from rice and wheat. And that's why we are promoting millets. ठीक है? Then micro irrigation practices are promoted in the form of drip and sprinkler irrigation. इससे क्या होगा? जो poor irrigation efficiency है, उसे हम लोग improve कर पाएंगे. Right? We will be able to reduce loss of water because of evaporation. हम sprinkler और drip irrigation का use करेंगे. And this is being promoted under Pradhan Mantri Krishi Sinchai Yojana, whose motto is per drop more drop. Next, promotion of dryland farming technologies. Right, we are number of states, especially Maharashtra, they are collaborating with countries like Israel for dryland farming technologies. Right, in Israel, you must be aware, they also have paucity of water. आजकल ड्रामों के लिए यूज है, but otherwise they are very good as far as agriculture is concerned, water efficiency, water management is concerned. Right? So in Israel, they have paucity of water, and that's why most of the water that they get is from desalination of seawater. And that water they use, and whatever water has been used, they carry out its recycling. It is said that more than 90% of water is recycled in Israel. Right? तो हम लोग इन टेक्नोलॉजीज के बारे में उनसे जानकारी ले सकते हैं, and that is what is being done for dryland farming technologies as well. Then creation of drought fodder banks. Drought fodder banks means whenever as a drought comes with warning, we will prepare beforehand by establishing fodder banks. ठीक है? Fodder banks क्या होते हैं? जहाँ पे चारा कलेक्ट किया जाएगा, and the area which is affected by drought will get that, let's say, fodder whenever required. So these are agricultural based mitigation steps that we have taken. Apart from that, there is focus on water conservation and development of new water resources as well. For example, first, use of check dams and farm ponds. अगर चेक डैम्स हमने बनाए तो क्या हम ज्यादा पानी को जमीन में परकोलेट कर सकते हैं? That is what is the utility of check dams. Right? Farm ponds are promoted in agricultural areas where we will be able to we give subsidies for, let's say, having those farm ponds, so that farmers will be able to carry out irrigation practices using water from those farm ponds. Okay, so that is one. Second, watershed management under integrated watershed management program (IWMP). Have we referred to this IWMP during our discussion of land degradation? डिग्रेडेशन? हाँ, मैं आंसर दे देता हूँ हाँ, राइट? क्यों? क्योंकि आपको याद नहीं होगा, we have referred to this, right? There were 3 programs that we integrated to start integrated watershed management program. So इसमें watershed को manage किया जाता है, and as a result of that, we will be able to increase the availability of groundwater. Next, revival of tanks, बावड़ीज, जोहर्स, तालाब, traditions, जो भी traditional practices थी हमारी, हम उन्हें revive करने की कोशिश करें, right? So tanks, so these are the terms that you should know, बावड़ीज and जोहर. So let me show you. So this is जोहर, and this is बावड़ी, which we have already seen. So इन्हें हम रिवाइव करने की कोशिश कर रहे हैं अंडर वाटर कंजर्वेशन इन इंडिया. नेक्स्ट, रेन वाटर हार्वेस्टिंग इज प्रमोटेड इन डिफरेंट पार्ट्स ऑफ इंडिया, स्पेशली स्टेट्स लाइक तमिलनाडु. तमिलनाडु प्रमोट करता है रेन वाटर हार्वेस्टिंग लाइक एनीथिंग. नेक्स्ट, इंक्रीज इन द वाटर यूज एफिशिएंसी अंडर स्कीम्स लाइक प्रधानमंत्री कृषि सिंचाई योजना. वाटर एफिशिएंसी इज बीइंग प्रमोटेड इन इंडिया वेयर वी विल मेक श्योर दैट व्हाटएवर, लेट्स से अगर 1 केजी राइस प्रोडक्शन के लिए 1 केजी लेट्स से पैडी कल्टीवेशन के लिए हमें पहले 100 लीटर्स ऑफ वाटर चाहिए था, विद द यूज ऑफ माइक्रो इरिगेशन प्रैक्टिसेस वी आर मेकिंग श्योर दैट 1 केजी ऑफ पैडी कल्टीवेशन वी कैरी आउट विद द हेल्प ऑफ लेट्स से 50 लीटर्स ऑफ वाटर. दैट्स व्हाट इज वाटर यूज एफिशिएंसी दैट इज प्रमोटेड अंडर प्रधानमंत्री कृषि सिंचाई योजना. ठीक है? हां, क्या हो गया? सिंचाई का प्रोनाउंसिएशन गलत है. Is it the case that we take paddy only during monsoonal season? There are states like West Bengal और Eastern India में ऐसे states हैं जो 3 क्रॉप्स लेते हैं paddy. उस टाइम तो हम यूज कर सकते हैं. So, let me change the example. Let's say wheat cultivation, right? या और कोई दूसरा cultivation, millets cultivation, sugarcane cultivation. उसके लिए water use efficiency work कर सकता है. Interlinking of rivers is being carried out in India as well. Wherein what we are doing, from surplus rivers we are moving water to the rivers which have deficiency of water, especially during summer season. ऐसे projects को हम क्या कहते हैं? Interlinking of rivers. One of the examples is in Betwa place, right? We have referred to one river, Kosi and Miki river. So Kosi and Miki river is the project that we implemented in order to take care of floods in Betwa is for improving water availability, especially in Bundelkhand region of India. Okay? So these are the water management, water conservation steps. Next, restorative steps have also been. In that, we can highlight deforestation schemes like Green India Mission. When we refer to Green India Mission, आपका homework था ये. Under NAPCC, one of the missions is Green India. India Mission. We refer to Green India Mission even under our discussion of land degradation. ठीक है? तो I hope you have written those notes. हो गया सारा दिख लिया आप लोगों ने. If you have doubts, you can ask them tomorrow. Right? लेकिन क्लास के बाद आपको पूछना है if you have doubts any with respect to those topics that I have discussed on PDF. Soil conservation initiatives are also there that we are implementing. Right? So with the help of these restorative steps, we will be able to manage crops. Next, government programs. Some government programs are there. For example, Drought-prone area program, desert development program, integrated water development program. इन तीनों को merge करके हमने start किया है integrated water management. So this is one of the government initiatives that we have taken, which is especially for the management of droughts and thereby increase the availability of water in India. So this is first government step. Second, Second, National Rainfed Area Authority. Authority is an autonomous body under Ministry of Agriculture and Farmers Welfare created in year 2006 to address the challenges of rain-fed farming in India. Right? Because see, which area will be more affected by droughts? Obviously, area which is dependent. Dependent on rainfall for its agricultural practices. So अगर इस एरिया में हमें drought का impact कम करना है, तो there is a need of dedicated institute, and that institute we created in year 2006 in the form of National Rainfed Area Authority under Ministry of Agriculture and Farmers Welfare. It functions as a knowledge and policy advisory body for development of rainfed and dryland agriculture. Whatever state government need advice with respect to the development of these rainfed areas, that advice would be given by this particular authority. Okay? With the help of these steps, we are trying to manage droughts in India. Next, apart from that. Apart from drought mitigation steps, once drought occur, there is a need of provision to, let's say, there is a need to provide relief as well. Right? So there are some steps related to relief and responses related to drought. First and the most important response is in the form of provision of food. So under provision of food, we can highlight some schemes like National Food Security Act, जिसके अंदर अंदर कितना 5 किलो अनाज मिलता है per person per family, per person instead of saying per family, per person 5 kg of food grains are given per month. Right? So National Food Security के अंदर food provide करते हैं हम लोग. ICDS, what is ICDS? Like Integrated Child Development Scheme, which we initiated way back in. Right, in 1975 we started this particular scheme जहाँ पे फोकस है प्री स्कूल चिल्ड्रन, मतलब जो 6 month to 6 years के जो बेबीज होते हैं, इनको जो न्यूट्रिशनल रिक्वायरमेंट होती है, that we focus upon under ICDS, along with lactating mothers as well. Pregnant and lactating mothers also get food meal support under ICDS. One of the most important schemes that we have launched for taking care of malnutrition in India, because you have to focus in that particular time span when babies are growing, and that's what is done by ICDS. 6 months to 6 years. Yes, see, when you write disaster management answers, you know you don't need to explain these schemes. You just have to focus on the use of this terminology. That's right. ये explain करने का काम आपको disaster management में नहीं पड़ेगा. Why? Because question ICDS पे नहीं होगा. Question malnutrition पे नहीं होगा. Question will be on government initiatives to provide relief and response in droughts occurring in India. Next is midday meal. Midday meal is provided to 6 to 14 years. 6 years. इसके बाद क्या होगा? इसके बाद midday meal आएगा. इसके बाद ऐसे छोड़ नहीं देंगे. छोड़ने देंगे. इसके बाद मिड डे मील मिलेगा. Fine. Mid day meal, try to understand. Mid day meal is given during school hours. But what in case summer holidays are there? अगर summer holidays है और उस साल drought declare किया गया है by that particular state, mid day meal will be provided even during summer season, summer vacation. Summer vacation में भी mid day meal का support मिलेगा अगर drought declare किया गया है तो. That is what is the utility of, let's say, drought responses. Next, water resource management. Water resource management. resource management. Whenever drought occur in India, there is a need to prioritize use of available water. ऐसा नहीं है कि drought आ गया तो पानी खत्म, पूरा पानी खत्म, ऐसा नहीं होता है, because there are some live, let's say, sources of water which still have availability of water. So we'll take those live sources of water under its control, and then it will prioritize use of water. Firstly, water will be given for drinking purposes, then irrigation, then industries, and then power plants. Okay, so this would be prioritization of water use during the occurrence of droughts. Then restoration of defunct borewells. Might be the case that groundwater is there, and some borewells were let's say were there already for extraction of that groundwater, but they are not in use. We'll make sure that they are brought in use. Next, water tankers to villages and water trains would be provided in certain cases as well. Like water tankers will be provided to villages in order to let's say meet water resource requirement there. Next, cattle protection is also required during droughts. How do we protect cattle? By establishing, let's say, fodder banks or cattle camps as well. Okay? Fodder banks होती है, fodder banks में क्या होगा? Fodder will be distributed to the villages where water scarcity or drought has been declared, and then from those villages it will be given to farmers. But in cattle camps, farmers surrender their cattle in that particular camp. They'll make sure that cattle are present in the camp itself, which is established by the government. फिर उस कैंप में fodder, water and veterinary care would be provided to those cattle. और उनका जो let's say जो भी resource है, let's say in the form of milk, that can be used by farmers. Right? Farmers उनका दूध निकालने के लिए वहाँ पे जा सकते हैं. Right? So that's what is the difference between cattle camps and fodder depots. Next, relief employment through engineering. I'm not sure whether it is there under G. I'm not sure whether it is there under G or not, but under engineering, relief employment was there. What is relief employment? Generally, engineering के अंदर कितना employment मिलता था? 100 days of employment. When drought is declared in a particular state, employment would be for 150 days. Right? So that's what is relief employment under engineering. Cross check कर लेना, G में है या नहीं. Crop loss compensation. Right? Whatever loss occurred to farmers. To farmers that would be compensated. Don't जिस area में let's say जिस area में drought आया वहाँ पे inputs into that irrigation varieties, and these are developed by Indian Council for Agricultural Research. Encouragement for millets, pulses, and fodder crops is being given in. Right, so those are the steps that we have taken for the management of drought area. Here है fine. Now let's go through NDMA guidelines. See, why we did not discuss NDMA guidelines for drought? There are no NDMA guidelines for cloudburst. Cloudburst is a highly localized event जिसके लिए NDMA ने guidelines नहीं दिए. But there are guidelines for landslide, there are guidelines for floods, etc. Which we have already discussed. Let's go through NDMA guidelines for drought management in India. These were the guidelines that were given in 2010. First, there is a need to create drought monitoring cells at state level with requisite staff. And there is a need to create drought monitoring cells. Why? Because drought is a disaster that occurs with warning. We need to catch that warning so that we will be able to prepare in advance for the management of drought. And for that, you need to deploy your team at the ground, which will take into account soil moisture level, which will take into account the loss of crops. cost of crops that is occurring in different areas, and based on that, you will declare the occurrence of drought. Right? इसके लिए हमें dedicated let's say cells चाहिए, and that's what is recommended by India. Okay. Preparation of vulnerability maps for each state by state drought monitoring cells. So state drought monitoring cells will carry out the monitoring, and based on that, they will prepare vulnerability maps of different regions in that particular state which are prone to the occurrence of drought. Next, development of real-time drought-related information by using information and communication technology. Like ICT का use करके, you should try to come up with real-time drought-related information. What kind of drought-related information? For example, we can understand the conditions with respect to the rainfall in that particular area for which ICT can be used. For example, satellite data can be used to understand whether there is a possibility of rainfall in that area in near future or not. Right? So rainfall-related information, which is again drought-related information, can be linked. Watershed development approach would be taken up for drought management. Right? So this step we are implementing with the help of integrated water management program in India. Right? IWMP is helping us implement watershed development program. Watershed development in India. Next, integration of ground-based information with space-based information. Space-based information for comprehensive reporting. ये ड्रॉट मॉनिटरिंग सेल का स्टाफ क्या करेगा? ये ग्राउंड पे जाके इन्फॉर्मेशन कलेक्ट करेगा. Now information you should integrate with the information that you are getting from satellites, remote sensing satellites. Based on these two, you can come up with comprehensive information for the occurrence of drought, which areas are facing drought, what is the level of let's say reservoir acidification and deforestation, as well as include agricultural production, depletion of water resources, livestock population, land degradation and deforestation. Deforestation as well as human health. Right? See, when we discuss drought management, we also refer to drought relief and response. Relief and response you will be able to give in an appropriate manner when you quantify the loss, when you quantify, let's say, how much crop has been affected, how much is the impact on human health. Based on that, you will be able to give your relief and response, relief and response measures you can carry out in a proper manner. इसके लिए आपके पास information चाहिए, and for that you should carry out the assessment of all these. Next, to enable micro-level analysis and forecasting, automatic weather stations and rain gauges should be put in place. Right? You need to know how much rainfall has occurred in a particular area or will be occurring in a particular area. इसके लिए आपके पास automatic weather stations होने चाहिए, and also rain gauges should be there so that you will be able to measure rainfall occurring in a particular area. You must have seen rain gauges. Right? Rain gauge क्या है? एक डिवाइस है जिसका यूज करके हम लोग कितना रेनफॉल हो रहा है किसी एरिया में वो मेजर कर सकते हैं. इट इज काइंड ऑफ बीकर ओनली. एक बीकर होता है जिसमें ऐसे ऊपर होल होगा, उसे एक ऐसे एरिया में रखा जाता है जहाँ पे कोई बिल्डिंग नहीं है, कोई पेड़ नहीं. Rainfall will percolate in this particular beaker, and there will be markings. And based on that, we'll be able to measure कितना rainfall. So those kind of devices should be used to know the rainfall in a particular area. Development of drought-resistant crop varieties through large-scale research. Drought-resistant crop varieties can be developed with the help of biotechnology. Right? It is not always, when we say biotechnology, it's not always genetic modification. Even genetic editing can help. Even selective breeding can help us to improve the, let's say, drought tolerance of different varieties of crops. Next, the mitigation measures to be taken would include cloud seeding. This cloud seeding. What is cloud seeding? It is artificial rain. It is weather modification technique that can help us increase the rainfall if clouds have been formed in a particular region. Right? So cloud seeding हमने discuss किया था in the context of pollution control, air pollution control. Same technique can be used to create artificial rainfall in areas where rainfall is deficient or in areas where drought has formed. उन areas के लिए हम cloud seeding practice कर सकते हैं. Formulation of cloud seeding policy is needed for this as per IM. Next and last year शायद नहीं second last. Promotion of crop diversification. Can crop diversification help us manage a drought? Last. लास्ट उन एरियाज के लिए हम क्लाउड सीडिंग प्रैक्टिस कर सकते हैं. फॉर्मुलेशन ऑफ क्लाउड सीडिंग पॉलिसी इज नीडेड फॉर दिस एज पर IM. नेक्स्ट एंड लास्ट ईयर शायद नहीं सेकंड लास्ट. प्रमोशन ऑफ क्रॉप डाइवर्सिफिकेशन. Diversification. Can crop diversification help us manage our droughts? Right? See, we are excessively focusing on sugarcane paddy cultivation in India, and these crops need lots of water. And that's why there is a need to move away from paddy sugarcane to especially millets. So crop diversification through sprinkler and drip irrigation systems, which are considered as micro irrigation systems. Promote provision of credit in the drought affected areas and extension of marketing and price support in these areas. किसी भी एरिया में ड्रॉट आता है वहाँ पे क्रेडिट दैट मींस लोन शुड बी गिवन फॉर फार्मर्स सो दैट दे कैन परचेज इनपुट्स afresh. अगर किसी एरिया में रेनफॉल डेफिशिएंसी है तो इट माइट बी द केस पहले जो सोइंग कैरी आउट की गई है वो फेल हो जाए. That's why there is a need for carrying out sowing of seeds again. उसके लिए farmers might not have resources. That's why for those farmers you need to give credits. Apart from credit for let's say agricultural inputs, there is a need to give support even after the harvesting of crops, and that can be in the form of let's say better marketing avenues, which may be provided in the form of e-NAM or price support systems as well. e-NAM you must have heard about, so that can be used, and then price support system in the form of MSP can be used. Deforestation should be carried out, and when we carry out deforestation, we should focus on local varieties like Subabur, Tima, Aruba, Casuarina, eucalyptus, and biodiesel plantations with in the form of Jatropha and Pongomine. Right? Jatropha especially is important as far as biodiesel is concerned, because we have referred to this kind of crop even during our discussion of National Biofuel Policy, which promotes usage of biofuels in India. Next, development of insurance products. Right? As droughts are occurring in an area, in a large area, there is a need to protect economic interest, financial interest of farmers. For that, we need to have better insurance products as well. In India, we have those products in the form of Pradhan Mantri Fasal Bima Yojana. So insurance products for different agroclimatic zones providing coverage against drought should be developed as per India. ये guidelines कब दी गई? 2010 में दी गई. And when we have developed Pradhan Mantri Fasal Bima Yojana around 2015-16, right? And that's why we can say that this has been implemented in the form of Pradhan Mantri Fasal Bima Yojana. Last, framing a realistic national training and capacity building program for drought management. Officers of PRI and ULBs framing a 15-16. We can say that this capacity building program for drought for drought management. Officers of PRI and ULBs should be trained because these are the officials that are close to agricultural areas, which are close to, let's say, people, and that's why they need to be trained so that they will be able to implement proper drought relief code on ground. So, इन्हें training देने की जरूरत है. We should also incorporate NGOs, PRIs, ULBs for generating awareness amongst farmers that they need to shift from sugarcane type of crops to millets, that they need to diversify their crops, that there is a availability of insurance in the form of Pradhan Mantri Fasal Bima Yojana. They should shift towards micro irrigation, for which subsidies would be available under Pradhan Mantri Krishi Sinchai Yojana. Wherever necessary and feasible, the corporate sector should also be involved in supporting drought risk management efforts as a part of CSR. What is CSR? Corporate social responsibility. Right? Those corporate sectors which have some turnover and which have some profit in last 3 years, उनका 2% of profit they have to dedicate for social activities. So that kind of funding we can use for the management of droughts as per India. Like, अगर किसी drought-prone area में corporate sector है, तो उसकी CSR की funding हम लोग dedicate कर सकते हैं for the management of droughts. ठीक है? So that is about NDMA guidelines for the management of droughts. So these are Joberts, these are Bowdies, and this is Cyclone. Okay, so that is about NDMA guidelines. NDMA guidelines for the management of droughts. So these are Joberts, these are Bowdies, and you should blame him, not me. So way forward, क्या way forward हो सकता है? Precision farming. Precision farming, right? Whenever we carry out precision farming, we should use technologies like nano. We should use IoT. We should use AI as well. Right? Nanotechnology, IoT और AI का use करके हम लोग precision farming कर सकते हैं. What is precision farming? Directed farming, where resources are directed in the areas where they are required. ये हम practice कर सकते हैं, and for that we can rely on technologies like nanotechnology. Right? For example, nano urea has been developed, which increases the use efficiency of urea. Right? Urea की use efficiency बढ़ाता है क्या? Nano urea. Right? There is nano DAP as well. What is IoT? Internet of Things. Right? With the help of Internet of Things, we can fit sensors in the agricultural fields, and those sensors will give it, let's say, water motors, and that's what is IoT. And then AI can also be used. Then international best practices should be implemented. International best practices. International best practices. As I've given you example, there is a collaboration between Maharashtra and Israel for dryland farming practices. So ऐसा जो collaboration है, we should expand. We should try to take into account more areas, more, or other countries should also be, let's say, other countries should also be involved in this kind of experience sharing initiative. Then we can mention about apart from precision farming, international best practices, we have already referred to insurance, so that's why we won't be able to refer to insurance. मतलब कहीं भी digital twins लिखते हैं, you have to use very appropriate. It would work for disasters like flood. It's very difficult to let's say use those kind of technologies for drought. So you can add, let's say, canal irrigation. It is there already. It is there. और अगर आप irrigation के बारे में लिखना चाहते हो, irrigation practices, see, in way forward we are writing those practices which we have not discussed earlier. पहले जो डिस्कस नहीं हुए ऐसे practices हम लिखें. So these are those practices you can write. So ठीक है, दो ही लिख लीजिए. For what? RFP for what? Let me see if I have any other point. Disaster insurance we have already referred. Our discussion for today. Tomorrow I'll be taking class till 5:30. So please be prepared. 5 बजे के बाद हल्ला नहीं करना है कल. No, it's not 5:30. So tomorrow I'll be discussing till 5:30. Come prepared. Tomorrow we will complete our discussion of लीजिएगा आपके cloudburst and 4 slides of cloud. This is horns of Africa. This is Australia. Here, the path of Peruvian current has been replaced with warm waters. Okay? Warm water has occurred in this particular area during El Nino. During La Nina, what happened? So, इस El Nino की वजह से पूरा वो rainfall system हमारा बिगड़ गया. Right? La Nina में क्या होता है? This hot water will be replaced with colder water. It might be the case जो पहले colder water है वो restore किया जाएगा, और it may be the case even cold water will accumulate in this particular area. ठीक है? इससे क्या होता है? अगर इस एरिया में कोल्ड वाटर एक्यूमुलेट हो गया, that means here we will be having high pressure conditions. The high conditions are there. ये जो trade winds है, तो यहाँ जा रही है, इस एरिया में जा रही है, will be attracted towards this high pressure. Right? And that's why it might be the case जो air इस direction में जा रही थी पहले, वो भी अभी इधर जाने लगी. Hence, if La Nina is there, there is a possibility that India will receive more. Right? 88 average है हमारा, 90 degrees. That's what is the condition that you have to take into account when we talk about. What discussed earlier? Right? Crop diversification. If you see, we have referred to here crop diversification, and that's why we won't be able to add it. Crops में women specific impacts भी लिख सकते हैं. Yes, you can write. Yes, obviously. Currents. Convective currents will be there, which will be moving from, let's say, the low altitudinal areas to higher altitudinal areas. Right? A bluff is a kind of air mass that is moving in the upward direction. As it is moving in the upward direction, these rain droplets will not be allowed to fall. It will be taken again back into the clouds. As a result of this, their size will go on increasing. Their size will, Mani, Ankita, and Mohammed Ali. The article था, and it is the result of El Nino sudden oscillation is ENSO. Okay. Africa and India, it might be the case Australia will be affected negatively. We have seen conservation department in the third drought and cloudburst to save flora and fauna of our country. There are no specific measures that biodiversity conservation measures that we have in India related to these kind of disasters. See, whatever measures that we take for general areas and we will support the animals. Otherwise, we take measures in general for biodiversity. Rhinos go in an upland area. Reason is pollution. Pollution की वजह से black होता है. Ability of IoT event expose weaknesses in India's agriculture, insurance, and disaster management framework. What sense I'm getting from the house that you are asking?
बाय बाय गाइस, कल मिलते हैं सेम टाइम.